We caught Miss Katie looking down, didn't she? She's looking at those yellow things, and those are called words. Miss Katie had a really good checkup for health today, so we're really very happy. Her blood pressure was
127/62.
Yeah, which mine is never that good. Okay, mine could be 62 if you subtract some numbers out. So, anyway, it's another Gary Graber game of recent. And what's this one called, Miss?
Weltkrieg, 1914.
And what does that mean?
The Great War?
The Great War. Very good. We are currently playing this game, and we're finding it amazingly good. I generally find Gary's games to be good. Don't get me wrong. This one is amazingly good. But what do we know about World War I? Did anyone in your family serve in World War I?
No.
Was your grandfather in the Navy in World War I?
No.
I couldn't recall.
I don't think so. I think my family skipped World War I.
But my family didn't.
Your family did not.
My family didn't skip World War I. And who would we be talking about?
I'm talking about your granddaddy.
My granddaddy. And tilted just a little, that a girl. In fact, let me turn the lights off here because we're getting the Sputnik light on it. So, and of course it's dark. You can see it's dark, but let me kind of zoom in on Miss Katie and my granddad there. That's my granddaddy. And he was at, and you can put that down, Miss.
All right.
He was at Camp Platte, New York. We didn't call them army bases then, and it was a camp. And of course, the story of my granddad is what?
The recruiter asked him, George, what's his name, George?
Frank.
Frank Smith, are you over the age of 18?
No, he asked him, are you over 18?
That's what I was saying.
No, you said age.
Okay. Anyway, are you over 18?
And my grandfather
and
could say.
Your grandfather said, yes, I am over 18, but what he had done was he had taken a piece of paper, written 18 on it, and put it in his shoe. And notice the recruiter didn't ask him, are you over the age of 18?
He asked him just solely,
Are you over 18? And so he did not lie.
And people have said to me, well, you know, that's an old maid's tale sort of, or an urban legend for World War I, but my granddaddy told me that. And I have every reason to believe that my granddaddy was telling me the truth, because my father later in life told me the same thing, that it was common knowledge in the family. And I've looked at my family's history, and Frank was not 18 when he sailed and shipped for France. So,
And I'm certain he was not the only one that...
No, there were many. Now, we also have, and I didn't take that off the wall, his wound certificate. In lieu of Purple Hearts, they issued wound certificates. How nice and cheap is that? Jeezies. But we recently had that fixed somewhat, although we didn't take it out of the original frame, because like the one Miss Katie held up, these frames are ancient and irreplaceable. So, but this is a fun little game, and what you need to know about Weltkrieg is that Weltkrieg is only played from the German side. It's solely the Germans in World War I. Correction though, it's not quite World War I. It's the opening moves. In fact, let me look at my chart, the game track here. It's a whole month in several days, maybe 5 weeks. August 14th, 1914 to September 19th, 21st. So it is 5 weeks. The game is 5 weeks, but with turns tend to be about, well, 3 days apiece. So, but more of that later, folks. So as always, this is when we get ready to have her flap her little paws and say,
Bye-bye.
bye-byes. Hi folks, it is Friday the 13th. Wasn't much of a Friday the 13th here in any negative sense, so nobody threw up in the house, nobody voted inappropriately, and our little kitty, who our friend in Kiev, Victor, wanted to name Tom, we named him Bud. He is actually Bud, not one, not two, but Miss Katie?
Fee.
Fee. He's Bud number Fee. He just kind of seemed like a Bud, so. But let's talk about the new game by Minden. Miss Katie talked to you about it earlier. Weltkrieg. And do you remember what it is, Miss Katie? Isn't it World War?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now the only thing I have to say about this game is, okay, Weltkrieg 1914, solitaire World War I war game, pretty good. Then strategic, core levels, west and east front. Why not just call strategic core level with west and east front or something? I just think that's a little clunky. I'll ask my secretary. What do you think, Miss Secretary? Does that seem a little clunky to you?
I think it's choppy.
Yeah, I think it's choppy too. But Amazon. Ta-da! Amazon. And again, I don't get anything for recommending it from Amazon. But this is a little more expensive than their TOG. And this one is $23.95. The back is, let's see, who is on the back? That looks like Russian cavalry. Home before the leaves fall. So, some good history in here by Bob Flood. It is a standard book of this type. The funny thing is the rules. The rules say instructions, not rules, but instructions, which is a little odd. Now, there are 27 pages of rules, sort of. About 9 or 10 of them are charts. And there are some blank pages interspersed, and there's the map interspersed, so, Now, the map in the book, let me show you the map in the book here. Because when I had Office Depot printed out, here's the map in the book. Okay? Of course, my computer, when I went and did it, made it, well, mine didn't like the green so much. You can see the difference. So then we went to Office Depot. And their first version was pretty dang close, but a little lighter. Then they blew it up and made it so white that you can't see the game circles. And the game circles will matter, but the one Miss Katie is looking at on my desk, or actually on the game table, you can't see the circles. So you kind of have to know they're there. There are lots of charts and tables, 9 or 10 pages of them. And let's show you some of those. And well, first we'll show you the counter sheet. Counters are core level, and who do you play as? You only play as the German. And this seems kind of odd at first. The only counters are German counters or game markers or events or chits or box level counters. Box level counters are these. It feels funny to only have one side on the map. It works. It really works. I was a doubter. Sorry, Gary. I was a doubter. I didn't see how this was going to work, but it works. It is driven by, let's see, where are they? Oh, it's driven by playing cards. Game engine. And of course, there is some use of the die in the game too. But it is generally driven by cards. There are 7 unit types. Let me read them here to you. There is the active reserve 3-factor core, the active reserve, not reserve core. There's the active 3-factor core, the reserve 2 core, Landwehr, ersatz, cavalry, siege artillery, and replacement. There are also variant chits, event chits, box level markers, game turn markers, and what he calls the cat marker, which is the counterattack, modifier 1, we have enough cats in this house, we don't need any markers for cats. Adding another one was more than enough for me. There are also, like we said, variant and event chits. The sequence of play is pretty simple. There are only 4 phases. There is movement. Movement is not very substantial, but the turns are only 2 to 3 days. Then there is the attack phase, which is really actions. Then there is the chit phase and end of turn, which is an end of turn. And Maggie is walking around in here, so you always got to watch Maggie because you never know what Maggie's going to do. Movement, you could move cores out of the reserve box to your other boxes. There are 3 boxes on the table. Why do I have 4 fingers up? Well, there are really 4 because 1 is the reserve box, 1 is the Belgium box, 1 is the Alsace-Lorraine box, and 1 is the East Front box. 3 active boxes and the reserve 1. The active boxes get modified by a number. That tells you how you're doing, and that same number then will end up as a victory point modifier that will be determined by the cards you draw at the end of the game. Again, all very simple, but it works. The map is, we'll come back to the map. Okay, we see the turn track mark on it. We see the circles where event chits go. That say, like here, if Serbia survives its early attack, the Serbia marker goes here and the Austrians are screwed kind of hereafter in the game. Not good for them. Setup is key to the game. Which are you going to go with? You're going to go with the von Schlieffen plan and put 90 factors here in Belgium. You're going to go with the Moltke plan and put like 68, 27, and 10. A more balanced one. And of course, some in reserve. Or are you going to come up with your own variant? Well, I sort of went with the 68, 27, and I think I went 18 because I took the reserve way down low. The problem with doing that is the reserve box, not only is it reserves for bringing units on board, but they are also used as modifiers for bad events that happen to you, bad card draws that you don't want to have happen. And that then costs generally a reserve unit. So, how do you attack in this game? Well, kind of easy. And let's go to the thing. There is what is called the attack level table, and you might be able to see here. Miss Katie will tell me if she can see the numbers.
No.
Okay. No. Well, we'll do that close to them. But there's a series of numbers running down the side with it tells you what level it is. Is it low, medium, high with an asterisk, high, or very high? Then you have the main table. The main table then is based off of this by the number of factors. Is it very low, medium, high, or very high? And then your card selection accordingly ends up. So you want to, of course, keep advancing your box number. Like right now in the game I'm playing, Belgium is a +4. Alsace-Lorraine is a -2, and the East Front is back to 0. Which is, well, it's okay, but right now I figure I'm losing the game as the German because of my Alsace-Lorraine ones. So factors for you here are determinative of your attack level. So you're hoping to gain big points in Belgium. All makes sense, but it is just, folks, at first when I was reading through the rules, none of this made sense to me. It was just, and maybe it's because I was tired, because I'd worked too long outside that night, and then all of a sudden while sitting there, the light went on. Everything made sense. Just sitting in bed, with my favorite girlfriend, who is little Daphne. Daphne was tucked in beside me, purring, and all of a sudden the lights came on, and I just said, I have to go set the game up and start playing right now. It was that fast. So the rules are well written. It was obviously me. So you play the game with the cards, you apply it that way. There are 5 possible results by the card. There is a retreat, of course. There is a pass one. A pass one means you have nothing happen that turn, and the next turn you just sit in place. You have an advance, and then you have a no effect. You want the advances because that increases your victory points at the end. And of course we talked about, like I say, Serbia gets their chit in here rather than the Austrians. That becomes a negative point modifier according to a table later for you. So you make your attack, you determine how your boxes go. Then you've got the casualty table. Casualty table is very simple. If you draw a red card, there's a casualty. Depending upon which red card you draw, depends upon how much casualty you have. And yes, we've got Petunia here. Petunia's over on the other side, so if you see a big black Shako tail, you know it's Petunia. And then you have the Allied counterattack table, which generally is fairly ineffective. You probably have about a 16% chance or so, dependent upon what else is going on in the game. What do we have? Oh yeah, your Joker card. Your Joker card gets pulled out of the deck. During setup, you also have to pick 3 event chits, 3 variant chits, and apply them early in the game. So that sets a small tone to maybe your first turn or two. What do we want to say? Yeah, for bad results. We come back to the result, to the reserve table. The reserve box, you have to, if you want to use that to negate one, you have to spend a unit. Well, if you use a reserve unit for that, you don't have it then for combat purposes, perhaps later on. So it starts becoming one of my favorite phrases, the assumption of risk. Do you want to pay for it up front, or do you want to pay for it behind display? Not a hard game, but there are a lot of interesting little choices every single turn. What else do I want to say? Garrison units come into play as well. Once you get to a +2 or +4 on, say, Alsace-Lorraine, Belgium, and the East Front, you have to garrison places, which means you bleed off more strength. Again, realistic. To the point and realistic. There's the possibility for an auto win. Good luck. It's going to require major bad stuff happening either against the French and British or for the Germans. Highly unlikely to see those come up. There's several other tables I want to show you here. There is the series of tables you may have to roll on through the game. That comes from the game turn display special roles and action table. That then leads you to chit resolution phrase and various chits and tables that as the game display turn says, all right, turn 3, roll on Serbian table for chit resolution phase. So you go to the Serbian table, you look at it, and there are from 1 to 7 possible outcomes. All very simple and all very comprehensive, because we go from there to the Tannenberg chit, to the Masurian Lakes chit, to the Galatian chit, Antwerp. Let's see, Channel Ports, Paris chit, Verdun chit, France chit, Strauss and Metz, Battle of the Frontier, Warsaw, man, Gary has thought of everything as far as I can come up with here. You'd be foolish not to get this little game. It is a gem. And what do we always do after we get done talking nice stuff about the game? We talk about books because we love books. We love books. Thank God I have a wife who likes books. From a Canadian college, we reviewed this for Armor Magazine. Comprehensive little study, translated from the German, of the operational headquarters journals. Really very good. Very good. And they didn't always see things going as well as historians have often thought they did. David Stone's book, a follow-up on Norman Stone's book, or maybe just a different interpretation, The Russian Army in World War I. Excellent book. I think we reviewed this for Armor Magazine, but I'm not fully certain, but it's a good book. Lawrence Soldhaus. This is a more intellectual take on World War I. World War I, the global revolution. Another very good read. It has lots of little sidebars like you would expect in Strategy and Tactics, the old Command magazine, and it has nice footnotes. I like anything with footnotes. Good book. Obviously it's a good book because I kept it. And a new one, a number of you may not know, On a Knife Edge. Truly the other side of the German hill, because how Germany lost the First World War. We reviewed this for Armor Magazine. We're awaiting its publication. But it's a different look at what you thought was going on, much like that from the journals, except at a higher level, looking particularly at the political and social factors. Another outstanding book for you to get. Easy to pick up on Amazon. Let's see, there's nobody on it that, well, that's not true. There's not anybody. There's Alexander Watson, author of Ring of Steel, which I think is one of the best books, and which I'm rereading right now at my bedside, and none of the cats have knocked it over. He loves this book. Well, we know how this game goes for you get an author and ask him to write a snippet for you, but if the guy from Ring and Steel goes ahead and endorses this book, that was good enough for me. I didn't know it at the time. Good book. So, there you have it, folks. We've got books. We have game. Show you the game thing again. Because Gary Graber has, I thought Der Tag was outstanding. This might even be better. I don't know. Little better component-wise. No, yeah, let's talk about components. Arts and crafts time, folks, here. You got to make copies of things, of the counter sheet, and then you got to cut them out. My thing again, I had to go to Staples to get them to print out right. To print out in the right terms of color. Mine turned out all wacky from my HP. Then we went ahead, glued them on with Gorilla Glue onto cardstock, laminated them, and boom, we were done. They look as good as many counters from some games that I have from earlier in my life. So, arts and crafts game, not very hard, pretty easy. So, you're going to love this game, folks. You're going to enjoy it. And we'll say it again, you're going to really love this game. And let me know when you buy it. Send me a picture of you playing it. I'll be very happy to see it. And I got Gray Kitty walking around in here now, who's also known as Bony Ass because he's long and skinny. So, folks, you have a lovely evening. Be blessed and be safe out there. Thanks, and Miss Katie is getting ready to turn me off right now. Thank y'all.